All right, sir. Joined from Silver Spring, Maryland, right by our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., by our friend Kayla Walter, joining us for the third straight year, financial planner, graduate, two-time graduate of Louisiana State University. Same place I got my master's. So we thank you so much for joining us. I got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School. We're recording this for all of our friends at Madison Central, Germantown High School, Ridgeland High School, and our YouTube channel. And this is our college and career readiness class where we have seniors getting ready to transition to college. So again, as always, it's a pleasure. Now, before we get into the meat and potatoes of finance and financial planning, you are from DeRidder, Louisiana, which I'm familiar with, but most people are not. It is a very small town in West Louisiana, just north of Lake Charles. So take us back to the very beginning, from DeRidder and then all the way to LSU.
Yeah, so if you've been to DeRidder, then you know why I was getting out. See ya. So yeah, it's very small. Had to get out. I figured the only way I was getting out of Louisiana was to go to the only school that everybody around the country would know, and that's LSU. So, no shade to any other school. I definitely didn't go with my friends who all went to ULM, but I was like, if I come out of the state and I tell somebody it's like I went to ULM versus I went to LSU, what would be the better name recognition? And so that's how I got to LSU.
Now, and that's a good point because we talk about these types of things. This is even before we talk about the financial side, because so many people pick colleges based on the name recognition or the football stuff. I mean, obviously, I'm a big LSU football fan, as are you, but the academics at LSU are not for the faint of heart. It's actually pretty difficult to get in there. I think the minimum right now is a 23 on the ACT just to be admitted as a freshman, and minimum of a 3.2 GPA. So they do have pretty strict academic standards. Now, obviously, when it comes to progressing your career, I see a lot of kids get in debt because they want to go to the big name school and they were not mentally and financially prepared for it. So even though it's worked out great for you because you obviously had a great plan or have done well since then, have you seen other people kind of make the same decision based on this is where my family went, this is the school everybody knows, I want to go to the football games, and then before they know it, they're on the hook for a few $1,000s?
Yeah, I mean, it can go both ways. I feel like, I started at LSU in 2011, so it's been a minute. But back then, talking about student loans wasn't like as big of a thing as it is now. Like back then it was just kind of like par for the course. Like, okay, here's where you want to go to school, fill out the FAFSA, you'll get your money, whatever, pay for school. You'll get out of, back when the American dream was go to school, get your education, you'll have the student loans, but you'll get a good high paying job and you'll just be able to pay them back. We're seeing how well that plan worked out. But it was just kind of thing, didn't really think about, oh, I'm gonna like it never was like a ick feeling of having to take out student loans. It was just kind of like, okay, cool, all right, I'll sign the paperwork, give me the loan so I can pay for my education. But hindsight 2020 probably would have put a little more effort into acquiring more funds to come out debt free. Would have definitely did some more financial planning ahead of time had I known better back then.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, since me and you have graduated, I'm a few years older than you, but now in Mississippi, with a 20 on the ACT, if you qualify with an income, they have what's called the HELP grant, which covers full tuition for in-state universities, which is unbelievable. So that's why we really stress the ACT to save funds when it comes to going to college. Now, you got your undergrad and your master's in finance, which,
right.
That's a field that's not going away, but it's also extremely important. Now, everybody cannot be a finance major. Everybody cannot be a financial planner. Just because one is really hard, but two is we need people for other jobs. But one thing I always say is that at least being familiar with financial terms, financial practices, basic money things, or even, things like saving for retirement as soon as you start working, that can lead you not only to working longer than you want to, but it can lead you to being in severe debt without even realizing it.
Yes, very true. And even, going back to school. So like even back when I was in college, Louisiana, we had our TOPS program. So I scored high enough to have like that second tier TOPS where they paid like the main tuition part and gave you like an extra little $400 or whatever it was. And I still had to take out loans. So it's definitely not all encompassing. But when it comes to at least knowing like basic financial terms, do it. Like I would prefer they make some type of financial literacy course required to graduate high school. But if you don't get it in high school, at least let it be an elective you take in college, just so you can kind of know the lingo, because that's when the predators and the vultures are really coming for you once you get to college. And once you turn 18, they're like, oh, you can get a credit card now. And that's where most people's downhill starts.
Yeah, and you mentioned that about because I agree with you 100% that a lot of this stuff is predatory, and how it's legal I will never understand, but that's a whole different conversation. But I was at LSU. I know you saw it too. Right out there outside the union, you have people just lined up trying to give you free stuff to sign up for a credit card. And
Mm-hmm.
then we're such a social media influence generation. You go in a store and they say, well, you can save 20% today if you sign up for a credit card. So young people fall into traps early because they don't understand what they're getting into when it comes to these credit cards that are being thrown at them.
Right. And I mean, learn the power of saying no. Just learn how to say no.
Now, when it comes to building credit, obviously it's something you want to do as soon as you get into college. So
Mm-hmm.
when people are set, because we have a variety of different paths in here with me now of people of students that have ideas of what they want to do, how they want to start. But you can start building a good credit score as soon as you get to college. So what are some ways you can do that just with some simple financial practices when it comes to when you start getting those paychecks at 18, 19 years old?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first, pull your credit report. Um, see see what's on it, learn how to read it. I mean, I feel like that would honestly be like a great class project. Pull the credit report from either one of them, see what's on it, and then see, maybe I can get a card. If you're going to college, Discover is a great place to start. And kind of fleshing out like how much income am I going to have? What can I use to be more responsible with this card and treat this card like a debit card. Don't go over your limit, know what you're spending. Like if you're buying groceries every week, okay, cool. Make sure you pay it off. If you know you got to put gas in your car every week, okay, cool. You're going to pay it off, but don't go charging for things that you don't actually have the money for.
Absolutely. And you always hear the saying is we spend money we don't have to impress and buying things we don't need to impress people we don't like.
Mhm.
Because we're so obsessed with status and trying to look good. And another thing, again, and I'm not even a financial expert. I'm far from it. I have nowhere near your credentials. But one thing I've tried to stress is when you start working, whether it be part-time in college or, working at even on as a student, as a student job,
Mhm.
when you start saving for retirement now, that's that much more money you have set aside. Young people are so obsessed with having a big paycheck, but they don't have anything set aside because, yeah, your grandparents, my grandparents, they could depend on Social Security. Those days are so far behind us, it's insane. By the time these kids get 65, I don't even know if Social Security will even be around. So simple things like putting in the maximum that a company will match on a 401k, doing a simple deferred income, you really don't even miss that money.
You don't. And it's really just practicing delayed gratification. You don't need everything, now. And just thinking about the times when you really, really wanted something and you didn't get it right when you wanted it, but you eventually got it and you appreciated it that much more because you actually had to work for it. And I feel like it's pretty much the same concept.
Yeah. Now, one thing you talked about last time I thought was really good is you said when you're in college that there's a triangle of things. It has to be one third, and you have to decide what parts of that triangle are most important. Because you said obviously you want to enjoy the college experience, you want to enjoy the academics, but you also have the health side, which again includes financial health. So talk about all that balance because these kids are graduating in 5 months and they're going to have to know how to make smart financial decisions because we have a few that want to go out of state. parents aren't going to be there. They're going to have their own checking account, and a Cash App card is not a checking account.
It is
I
not.
say that I use Cash App too, but it is not a checking account. So
Right.
they're going to need things like that, and they're going to have to be smart with it. So talk a little bit about that balance coming out of high school, because it is a trap a lot of people fall into.
Yeah. So, I mean, the obvious statistic, especially, well, more so for Louisiana, but I feel like it's kind of nationwide broad as well for any students coming into college with who already had some type of assistance. And it's merit based. So you have to maintain a certain GPA, maintain your grades. About 1/3 of the students automatically from RIP off the first semester are going to lose. They're going to lose the assistance that they had, and they're going to be put on academic probation, whatever it is. I know at LSU they will purge your classes with the quickness if you have not paid your fee bill. Um, but what I always tell people is there is a triangle. In the triangle, you can either sleep, you can have a social life, or you can study. People who try to maintain all three, you're not going to be very successful at either. I chose to. I chose to sleep and study. And I would occasionally pop out and have a, attempt an effort at a social life. But you really got to find your balance, especially if you're coming from a small town and you get to a major school, there is something happening every single day of the week. And as a freshman, you want to be there. Like, you want to be out there seeing what's happening, seeing what the upperclassmen are doing. You want to be there, but you also got to be smart and know, like, okay, I'm here, like I'm here to have fun, but I'm also here to get my education. Like, I'm also here to better myself for the next phase of my life. And don't rush it, because now that I done got to the whole other side, I really wish I would have took more time to enjoy just being a student and being in college. Um, but yeah, it's all about finding a level of balance. Don't go too crazy with oh, we go in here every night of the week and then you don't do your homework, and now your professor never sees you, and your professor is going to have absolutely no mercy on you when it comes to end of semester grades. Like, I have literally had some of my teachers, some of my professors, because they knew who I was, because I showed up every day, bumped me from a B to an A at the end of a semester, just because I showed up and tried.
Yeah, and that's the thing, obviously LSU is a prestigious school, and I'm proud to call myself an alum, but a prestigious school is going to require prestigious effort. We've had some students go to Tougaloo College, prestigious HBCU here in Jackson. We've had students go to Oral Roberts University, to Towson University, very high end schools, but they were going to a prestigious school and they put forth a prestigious effort to get what they needed. And I agree, and that's true. You will literally have professors bump you up a letter because you were there every day.
Yeah. And it's just all about, getting some FaceTime. Like, even if you don't know what it is, if you're not retaining the information, go to the office hours. Like, make an effort to prove yourself and prove that you want to do well, and they will help you do well. But if they don't know who you are, they don't know your face, when you go at the end of the semester, you're like, oh, but I'm 0.9 away. Like, can you give it to me? No, they're not going to do it.
Now I know you deal with a lot of high net worth individuals, but you also do a lot of training for kids not much older than the ones we have now. So what are some of the biggest mistakes that you've seen young people make during that transition from high school to college?
High school to college is it's really a tricky, kind of tricky thing. And I would say most of the mistakes, because most people between high school and college, you're going to have your little job, you're saving up your money because you want to deck out your dorm, you want to get some new shoes, you want to buy some new clothes, whatever. Most of the mistakes come in that first semester of college, when if you do happen to, your income qualifies for a grant and you get a refund check, this is where things tend to go downhill, because now you got a refund check, and 9 times out of 10 is a little more money than you ever had in your checking account. And instead of saving it to use it to buy books or pay your rent or whatever, I've seen people go out and buy J's. I've seen people go and get tattoos. I've seen people go and do a whole lot of things with a refund check. And that was never the purpose for it, at all. And then still come out with student loans when it was quite obvious that you could have just used that money to to do that. And then also coming into college mentally unprepared. So one, kind of know where you're going, tour your school, figure out what's happening, know what you're going to major in. Don't get to college, just being out here for laughs and fun. Like, oh, I don't know what I want to major in, general, whatever, coming in and liberal sciences, and you don't know what you want to do, and then you're changing your major every semester. Don't waste your time. Don't waste college's time. Don't waste your money. Don't waste the state's money, because it can be used for better purposes. Really come in mentally prepared, with a little more sense, hopefully, than some of us, had coming up before you.
Yeah, and you mentioned that about not wasting money, because obviously the cost of college continues to rise. And again, how that's legal, I will never understand either. But that's again a whole different conversation. But I know Louisiana, like Mississippi, has a good community college system where they partner with the universities to try to get you started for a fraction of the cost and then move you into the university setting. So, and me personally, and again, this is just my opinion, take this how you will, everybody that is here with me now and watches later. Unless you have some type of full scholarship, or you are dead set, 100% ironclad sure what you want to major in, I think right now the best move is to go start out at a community college. Now, obviously, everybody's different. Everybody has different learning styles. Everybody is comfortable, more mature. But when it comes to the cost and with the need for saving money as a college student, I think that is a great choice for so many people.
Right. If you don't know if you haven't really narrowed down exactly what you want to do, if you don't have the money, go to community college. A lot of the same classes are 100% transferable. You at least get your footing, get all of those unnecessary classes that they make you take as a freshman and a sophomore anyway, and you're paying way less than you would at a bigger university. So yeah, it's a great idea. If you are not ironclad, dead set on what you want to do, if you don't have a 4-year, full ride scholarship, go the junior college or community college route.
Yeah. Now, before I get to the students' questions, I obviously want to talk about your career in finance, because I think it's something that needs diversity. We need a lot. We need more women. We need more minorities. We need bilingual people in finance, because the two people at a company that are the last two laid off are the IT person and the finance person. That is the two areas that every corporation, no matter what field they're in, is going to have finance people, and they're going to have IT people. So obviously you're very experienced on the finance side. So what are some reasons that young people should consider looking at a career in finance? Because not only does it pay well, it's pandemic proof and it's recession proof.
Yeah, and definitely for the most part, finance is a very vast field. And so I just happen to choose the side of personal financial planning, but it's a very, very fast field. So whether you go into personal financial planning, whether you go into corporate financial planning, and doing balance sheets and accounting stuff, whatever it is, it really is a great field to get into. I mean, if you're not a numbers person, probably not. And while there are plenty of things, in this arena that can be boring, there's still enough diversity in the field for you to find something that you like. And like you said, if you don't like finance, you don't like numbers, but you like computer stuff, people will always need IT. always,
Yeah.
always, always need IT. And we are very strong about our IT as well, because we possess people's full identification profiles. So our cybersecurity has to be top notch. We cannot afford to be like Yahoo when they have a data breach every 6 months. Like, we don't get that. There are no mistakes here, especially with data leakage. And the way these people are learning how to hack from across the way and getting into things, so cybersecurity will always, always, always be needed. So just finding an in-demand field, no disrespect to people who want to major in stuff like liberal arts and English. Just make your college experience worth your while, something that's worth it. Don't go take out $100,000 worth of student loans and become a teacher. Like, don't, because the cost to benefit ratio is just not there. Like, evaluate what an average person is making as a entry level person. Don't base your compensation thoughts off of someone who's been in the business a long time. Base what you decide to do off of someone's first year entry level. And you can go on Glassdoor, I think it's called Glassdoor, and type in just about any company out there and see what they're paying their first year associates, all that. And that's how you can base what you want to do. Like, if the cost to benefit ratio is there for you to take out the loans, knowing that this is the average that you would be making.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. And we're obviously not knocking teachers, but teachers, nurses, they really don't. These places that are hiring these don't care that where you went to college. They just care that you went to college. So a perfect example I saw online one time. This girl said she went to Princeton to become a nurse and took out, like you said, several $100,000 of student loans. Her coworkers had gone to community college, got the exact same license for the exact same job, and they were buying homes as 25-year-olds, and she was stuck with debt and wasn't able to do the same things financially because she wasted a lot of money on a degree that at a prestigious college that she really did not need to go to. So obviously nurses are a great field, and we have several here that are interested in nursing. But again, goes to see how much it's going to cost you. If you're going to go broke getting your nurse's license, you need to reevaluate where you're going to nursing school.
Right, very true. And I mean, obviously, both teaching, nursing always will be in demand fields. We will always need both. But even with nursing though, like, if you need to make a move, because some of them are out here killing it, literally
Yeah.
killing it. So it really just depends. With that field, definitely depends on a lot of factors, and really getting yourself into position so you can make more money than kind of staying on the ground.
Absolutely. Well, I do want to get to these questions, and these are all seniors. This first one is Patricia Evans. She wants to go to Texas Southern University. Really interested in being working in the real estate field. So she asked, what is something that you see most high school seniors don't understand about money when they transition to college?
How it works, um, just in general. The biggest one of the things that I think is the biggest scam in America is that you have to work for money, you pay taxes on that money, and then you go buy goods and services that you need and pay taxes on those goods and services. So we live in a highly taxed society. And then also not knowing how to read your paycheck um, is a really big thing as well. So if you're working, look at your pay stub, know how to read it, know the difference between what gross and net is. And that'll help you go far. Because when you are getting into like your full-time job and you want to make contributions to the retirement plan, if you don't know how to read your paycheck and you don't know what they're doing, you'll come out, this is a experience that my sister-in-law had, because she didn't read her paycheck. So she didn't know she wasn't contributing to the retirement plan. And so after a year of working, coming out thinking she was contributing the whole time, and she wasn't, because they weren't doing they weren't taking the deduction out of her check. So know how to read your pay stub.
Yeah, and we mentioned that before, but when you do that contribution that automatically comes out of your paycheck, you don't even miss that money, and that's money that you start in your 20s. It's going to add up and add up and add up, and that's when and it drives me crazy. You see that meme where it says they need to lower the retirement age. I'm like, the retirement age doesn't have anything to do with an age. Retirement has everything to do with how much money you have saved up.
Yeah, I mean, I personally love that meme because I'm like, you know what? This is kind of for the birds. So I'm gonna encourage all of y'all to enjoy your college experience. Because once you get out here with the rest of us, you're just gonna be like, you know what? I had it pretty good. I mean, this is great, but like on days when you just don't want to move and you don't have the responsibility, enjoy the responsibility-free life.
Absolutely, and that's a great segue to this question. This is Cheyenne Harvey. She's Miss Velma Jackson, one of our cheerleaders here, and she asked, when you get out on your own, what are some things that you should finance and not finance, and why is financing some items difficult?
I mean, I just straight out the gate, don't finance anything you don't have to. Um, Especially if you're not going to be making the funds for it. So I know people who get out on their own, they get their first apartment, and now you're financing everything from the furniture, the TV, all of it, and you got a car note. That's just way too much. And you'll see whole paychecks gone as soon as they come in. So if you got a Facebook marketplace shop for, your first couch, your first table, your first TV, whatever it is, don't go financing little stuff like that. Like, especially if it's your first time out on your own, like the hand-me-downs will save you. Okay. There's a lot of good stuff out there for very cheap, free even. Don't go into debt for stuff like that. One of the biggest mistakes people make is buying a car, whether it's fresh into college or fresh out of college. I personally wouldn't do it. But that's another thing. Obviously, the cost of cars is high. I know you probably don't got $30,000 laying around to pay cash for a car, but if it's something you need, do it. But other than that, I wouldn't finance depreciable assets.
Yeah, and especially, and the rent to owns are another
Scam.
predatory deal. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not that much per month, but you wind up paying double what it would have cost you.
Three times what it would have cost you. It's
Yeah,
an
if
absolute
you'd have
scam.
saved up. So yeah, so and again, they're right there by these campuses, just looking to talk a college student into signing the contract.
Yeah, so it's better. You're better off going to like the marketplace on Facebook and striking a good deal with somebody. Go to estate sales. A lot of people don't talk about those. When people die, not to be morbid or anything, but when people die, their assets do go on sale and people sell all of the things in their home. And sometimes you might find some real gems in there. So go to yard sales, go to estate sales, look on marketplace, find good things that'll fit your aesthetic of however you want to build your first time getting out of your apartment. But don't finance stuff like that.
Yeah, and people are always looking to dump stuff. I had a friend who was getting married and she had too many TVs and she just gave me one of them. So, you can find ways to get things without trying to be fancy.
Right. I personally got a free TV myself. A girl was moving out of my building. She had this big 61-inch Samsung TV, and she was like, "Oh, I'm moving in with somebody else, and it's just too big. You can have it with the TV stand." I said, "Thank you."
That's awesome. This is Tashanti Levy. She wants to go to Talladega College, great HBCU there in Alabama. And she asked, what made you choose this career path? And did you always think you would get into this field?
I didn't. So I've always liked math. So I knew I would be doing something with numbers. So in high school, I took accounting. And if any of you have taken an accounting course, I'm not sure if they offer that there at.
Well, I taught it my first year here and I had to study for it every day because it was so dang hard.
Yeah. So accounting, I liked it. But the first time I messed up on doing my little journal entries on my ledger, and I had to erase everything and go back and do it again, I decided this is not for me. So was like, I'm gonna find a different field that deals with money that's not accounting. And then came across finance, and that's how I got into it.
That's awesome. All right, I just got one more. This is Michaela Davis, wants to be a labor and delivery nurse here, and I want to go to the University of Southern Mississippi, another one of our volleyball players. And she asked, once I get to college, what are the best tips to balance a budget when I have a college income based on a high school income?
Yeah. One, if you kind of know what you're making and you're working in college, always try and save your money. Not to say don't have fun, but save your money, save some money first, and then go and buy the things you need. But don't go spending all your money every weekend at the bar, buying yourself drinks and, stuff like that. If you're a girl, let the guys do it. No offense to the guys, but
we all know how it goes down in Tigerland.
Right. It's like save your money. You get your check, go ahead and take off your first 10%, 20%, whatever it is, put that aside into an account where you're just like, I'm not touching it. This is the pool of money that I'm spending from, and this is what I got till the next time I get paid. And be really diligent and disciplined about continuing that cycle, and you'll be better off than at least 80% of your peers.
Absolutely. Well, we're almost out of time. And as always, we just thank you so much for taking time for us. I learned something every time you talk. And it's just been really good over the last 3 years of you joining us. But before we go, obviously I have all seniors here with me. And so many times I just have high school students, 17, 16, 18 years old. And they're just like, this stuff's so stupid. It's never going to apply to me. but you can be extremely intelligent. You can be a great salesperson of yourself. You can have a great business concept. You can be a great student and a hard worker. But if you're not at least familiar with how money works, you are going to set yourself up for failure. So, what are some things they can start learning now in order to be successful as they transition into college?
Yeah. In the words of Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, it's not about how much money you make. It is about how much money you keep. And being in the field that I work in, I have seen many of people who make a lot of money and are still broke. It is possible to make $1 million a year and spend $1 million a year. Um, Very possible. Some of the people who you love to follow on Instagram do it all the time. It is not about what you make. Salary sounds great on paper, but if you rack up a commensurate amount of expenses, you are still broke. So it's all about how much you keep at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Yeah, we had a guest also said just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean you're rich. And just because you don't make a lot of money doesn't mean you're poor. So it really is about the mindset and the practices and learning how to live with what you have. So again, Kayla Walter, Silver Spring, Maryland, we thank you so much for joining us. Really great advice for these kids about to transition into college. And as always, I have to say it, go Tigers.
Go Tigers. Go Jaden
All right,
Daniels
bye.
for the Heisman.
Oh yeah, I think he's got a shot. Well, I hope so too. But I'll talk to you soon, my friend.
All right.
See ya.